Jacob, you mentioned kind of like the two audiences that the gospel was being preached to, the Acts 2 audience and the Acts 17 audience. Maybe for our listeners, could you describe those two groups and where do you think we are as a culture today here in the West, or maybe specifically here in America, and maybe provide some examples?
Yeah, so let me bring a term called plausibility structure. How is it that a society makes meaning out of any idea and adopts it? So within the Acts 2 context, what we are seeing is the Jewish people who already had the Old Testament, the law with them, and they had the context and eyewitnesses who've seen the Messiah walking among them, dying, crucified, and resurrected. And here was Peter in the midst of them sharing the gospel directly. He didn't have to bring all the Old Testament context and everything and engage with their culture first and then offer the gospel. So these people already had the plausibility structure to understand who Christ was.
They were waiting for the Messiah.
They were waiting for the Messiah. And there was an explanation that Peter gives that connects with their heart and regenerates them. And they respond to it by becoming Christians and following Christ. Whereas in Acts 17, what we see is that Paul goes to the Athenians on the Mars Hill. And they have no context of God taking on physical form and dying on a cross and resurrecting, right? Bodily. They may have the idea of resurrection spiritually, but not body. So he brings in a new message to them. And this was a new message to them. And in that context, what he does is he actually appeals to their poets. He appeals to their context of worship. He goes about looking at different altars. But then a thing that Paul does is that he doesn't go and say that, okay, now I saw an altar to Zeus, and I'm going to tell you who this Zeus is. No, that's not what he's doing. What he's doing is that he's contextualizing not the gospel to the culture, but culture to the gospel. And in so doing, he points to the altar to the unknown God, and he says, I'm going to tell you who that is. So he sets the stage before bringing in the God that they already knew. Actually, if you read that whole passage, they already know that God, but they reject it by creating their own gods. And Paul helps them to actually get away from that and come to this unknown God and to Jesus Christ. But in so doing, we see that not many actually respond. Some do. And that's where we are in culture too, where there's no plausibility structure. People don't understand even the idea of God.